What's going on live? What's going on live? Welcome back to another episode, another live streaming, if you will. We are officially live streaming, so we're doing another podcast today. Uh, yeah, little things coming up. So yeah, we're doing a podcast today, and I'm trying to curve out a time where I can do the podcast every single day for you guys at the exact same time. You feel me? So if I can because I have so much like networking and so much things going on, like it's so hard for me to get everything to going on. What's going on, baby? What's going on, woman? What's going on, guys? Gotta let everyone know what's going on. So yeah, streaming live on YouTube. I can't see YouTube comments really. However, that would throw me off. Anyway, the point is, I'm trying to find a way to just do things a lot better. So now that I have you guys on Facebook, I'm trying to get the podcast going. And I've really realized, good morning, guys. Good morning. Drop the vibes when you know you're here for it. Drop the vibes when you're here for it. Just drop the emoji. Just so I know you're here for me. Feel me? Support. That's my support. In American Sign Language, it means I love you. And I love you guys. Anyway, so the point of what I'm trying to say is I really think I enjoy podcasting. And I think I'm gonna make it like a full-time, I don't want to say gig, but it's going to be like a full-time gig for me or something kind of now. And I'm pretty excited about it. So it's what I'm going to do. And so, feel me? We dropped the vibe sign. And so what I'm going to do is if I can get my podcast to 100,000 streams every month, I can make $1,000. Now, it sounds crazy. I promise it sounds like a large number, like, oh my gosh, 100,000 streams, but I need every stream. If I do a daily podcast, I need every podcast to have 3,500 streams. And if each podcast can get 3,500 streams, which when you think about it on a regular basis for only 3,500 people to listen to what you put out, that's not a lot. But it's the number that I need because over the course of 30 days, it'll give me 100,000 streams, which in terms of ads, it will give me $1,000. And then I did this math out because if you look at like my streaming numbers now, I didn't post a picture yet, but I have officially passed, or I'm at 700 podcast streams. And you guys know I've been kind of iffy with the podcast and everything lately, as you guys know. So the fact that I have 700 streams, I'm about to go for 1,000, and I already have like $6 or $7. What's going on, Chachi? And then the fact that I already got like $6 or $7 going in the live and from doing my podcasting, I'm like, yo, okay, so if I get 1,000 streams and I can get $10 from it because I already got like six, then if I can get 100,000 streams, I can get $1,000. So I've decided to add that to like my repertoire as what I'm going to be doing for like my second source of income. Because you guys know I'm all about like two sources of income and everything. So that's going to be my second source of income, podcasting. And I really enjoy it. I got my little iPad, I got my little setup and everything. So it's a little fun for me. Share this because we're about to start getting into the podcast now. So if you really like it, if you're really enjoying the content, if you fucking with me, vibing with me and everything, share this so we can get as many people listening to this podcast, because I really try and drop gems and bring as much value as I can to you guys. I really should put my phone on do not disturb when I'm doing this kind of stuff, because that I can get distracted easily. Anyway, so let's just start getting into the podcast, right? Let's do this. Start recording. Hey guys, welcome back to another wonderful episode of The Ramblings. I'm your host, Angelo Roberts, and we have a different theory. Today we're talking theory. I want to drop some gems and really like let my business mind like ramble for a little bit. Okay. So the other day I'm watching Netflix, and when I'm on Netflix, I try my best to watch things that are educational, if you will. Not necessarily educational, but like I'll watch something historical fiction because at least it's kind of like history. I try to like mix education and fun together kind of thing. Anyway, so I like to watch a lot of movies that have to do with like theory or different business things. So on Netflix the other day, I'm watching Moneyball. Great movie. Loved it. Loved it twice. Loved it the first time, loved it the second time too. So anyway, I'm watching Moneyball, and I've been watching this thing on YouTube called, it's a blitzscaling class I'm taking on YouTube, right? And you guys know I go to like YouTube University and everything, which is basically just learning on YouTube. So I've been, and the teacher of this class is, it's like Reid Hoffman or Andy Hoffman or something. He's the co-founder of LinkedIn. If you guys know what LinkedIn is, he's the co-founder of LinkedIn, right? So he teaches this blitzscaling class at Stanford, and I really have been seeing like all of the guests he's been bringing on, like all of the different CEOs of different companies and marketings and VPs and stuff, all like the C-suite levels and everything. I've really seen a correlation between a lot of very successful companies and people. And it's, well, like what I'm seeing is it's not doing something or going headstrong in a way of ignorance, but it's knowing when you're right. You understand? It's knowing where you feel like you have a plan or a theory that's going to work. What's going on? When you feel like you have a plan or theory that's going to work, you have to stick with it. Like sometimes we overcomplicate things, and we have to be able to think outside of the box, which is where listening to other people comes from. We can sometimes get in our own way and be so ignorant to not seeing progress because we are so stuck on how things are supposed to be done. And we overcomplicate things. For example, right? So I was at a networking meeting earlier this week, and I connected with a lady who networked the previous month and connected with 800 plus individuals. In a 30-day span last month, she connected with 800 plus different business professionals in one single month. So how was she actually getting able to touch every single one of these 800 people? Due diligence, whether it be through email, an actual networking meeting, a follow-up, a text, a call. She contacted 800 plus individuals in 1 month. And I was thinking, what if I was able to mimic or do a similar concept with OffSource, right? If I was able to connect with 800 plus individuals, or if I was able to reach that many people on a personal level, how much business could it generate? And so I was thinking, that doesn't scale though. When you think in the macro of things, when you think of the big picture, meeting with every single one of like your people or clients, if you will, is not a scalable method. You have to find a way to automate it. You have to get more people in there, employees. That's not a scalable thing. However, when you have a foundation, when you have something to go on, now it becomes easier to automate and eliminate other things. So if I can do a similar concept, I can bring in the first initial amount of clients. And that's where a lot of people get stuck at. A lot of people get stuck in the sense of, they need their first 10, 15, 20, 30, 40 reoccurring customers or clients. And it's extremely hard to get them on a reoccurring basis. However, if you're able to connect with the people that bought one time, think of it like that. If you connected with everyone that bought one time and focused on getting those people who bought once to then buy again, you now have a better opportunity of increasing. And what that does is it also gives you like almost like a morale boost. And so the morale boost allows you to go further. So I want like creating things that don't scale. And the reason I'm thinking business theory is because in the movie Moneyball, they were using a different method, right? And when you're using a different method, a lot of people are going to scrutinize you, have issues with you, have doubts or concerns with the plan of action, the execution of this plan of action. But you have to think, things that don't scale create businesses, right? Things that do scale take so much money to scale, because in order to scale, you need time, money, resources, and also in a foundation of things, right? So when you're trying to scale something and have nothing, you cannot scale nothing. So how do you create something to scale? doing things that are not scalable. For example, Brian Chesky, the CEO of Airbnb, right? He was on the Stanford class that I was watching on YouTube. And all of the things that they did, like going to meet every single host on Airbnb. So any Airbnb host that was a host on Airbnb for a short amount of time, in the beginning, they were flying out and going to meet every single one of those people. And that doesn't scale. Yet it creates the foundation that you need in order to get something to scale. And scaling only comes after you have something. So in order to scale, you need a foundation. And foundation is done by doing things that don't scale. Therefore, you have to think differently. Everyone's trying to think like you have to do things in this particular manner. Like revenue is the biggest thing right now. Focusing on revenue, no profits, not having a crazy bottom line. All of these different SaaS products and everything, they're going back end and not focusing on how to really monetize and really relying on raising funds. But you dilute your company and you lose a lot of the hold of it in that. And the whole point of owning a business is to be profitable. So why are you focusing on revenues? The reason that they're focusing on revenues is because it has become common for it to be selfish. Because when you think of high revenues but low profits, you can build your money, your salary into the expenses of the business, and therefore it brings your total business tax revenue down, right? So if you're going to focus on having a high revenue with low profits, that means you have to be focused on spending just as much as you're earning. And that has become the way to think of it, when in reality you should be thinking of how to decrease your bottom line and increase your revenue to maximize profits. But if you maximize profits, you maximize expenses, you have to pay less taxes. So it's like, in scientific theory, it sounds okay to, pay more, expenses and have more revenue to have less profits to pay less taxes. But you're hurting the people that it's affecting. One, two, it doesn't look good as a company to be focused on making money and not keeping as much of that money as you can make. But in the way that you are distributing it so that you're paying your employees the best possible wage. And so that has really been the foundation of what we feel is different. Truly treat your employees like you care, if you do. Because if you truly show your employees that you care, in a real sense, because a lot of companies say that they care about their employees, and then their employees leave the company, and then they spill the beans about what's really going on in said company. So don't be fooled that just because a company says, oh, we are performing at a high level for our employees so that they have the best possible lifestyle, and we cancel out the racism and make sure that everyone has equality. But when the people start to leave and they start having all these leaks and cracks, it's because foundationally, you do not treat your employees like they matter and care enough to worry about them first. So that's what I'm trying to take and do differently in this particular setting and situation. This is how I am trying to change, if you will, or do my thing that doesn't scale. Because I think that this is something that people don't think scales, which is paying as much as you can for your employees in the beginning. But I think it's something that is going to create customers and create happy employees, and eventually it will scale. So I did some research anyway. So I did some research, right? Think of this. The scientific theory is the explanation of a phenomenon, meaning that something happened out of the ordinary with no explanation. And so a hypothesis or a theory is meant to explain that phenomenon. Yet people say, oh, that is just a theory. That is just looks good on paper. Well, theoretically, if it works on paper, it should work in real life. Now, we know that that's not always the case. However, phenomenons happen. So you, when creating your plan, especially if it's something that has been done and people are like, oh, how are you going to do this and take over, right? You have to have a way to say, you know what? This is how I'm going to do it differently. Because I know that doing it exactly like this is failure. So I'm going to come up with a different explanation for this phenomenon and then try and recreate that phenomenon using this theory, and then someone is going to get it right, and then it becomes law. So that's the path you follow to get this particular result. And once you have found the concrete, factual, 100% all the time path to get the exact same 100% result, you now have a scientific law. For example, gravity. What goes up must come down. We can test that. There was a bunch of theories around gravity. Oh, maybe what if we do this? Or this? What if we do this? What if we let it sit in the air for as long? No. Gravity states what goes up must come down. Period. And until we have that kind of concrete evidence and proof of something, it is a theory. It can work some of the time. That's where we have a plan of action. That's where we have a well-known theory. So, this is the highest probability to get this particular outcome. It's not always going to work. It's not always going to happen. It may not have even been exactly tested yet, but this is based on research and educational guesses. This is the best possible way to get the outcome, which still may or may not happen. So in business, I think that if things just follow common sense, because I'm a common sense kind of guy, I feel that if you follow a practical and common sense pattern to applying your theories, you will do so much better. Because when you have the ability to do something practical and think of how it's going to affect other people and how it's going to do the long run of your business, you really can see different points. And so those are the theories that I think are worth following or trying to do differently. For example, is it practical to pay an employee as much as possible, even if you can pay them lower? If you can pay an employee $12 an hour or $15 an hour, is it practical to pay them $15 an hour if you can pay them $12? That's up to your business thoughts and ethic. I think it's suitable to pay them that 15 if you can, even if they would take 12. Why? Because they're going to work harder and perform better, giving you a much better ROI on your money. Because in the reality of things, it's only a couple of dollars. And yes, that couple of dollars adds up in the long run. But if they perform very well in the long run, then hey. So we're done with the podcast. The podcast is done. I'm happy with that.